All right, welcome everybody to another one. This one's going to be titled There is Only One Path to Kevin, and that is through me. So, this comment keeps coming up and keeps coming up. There's only one path to heaven, and that's through Jesus. So, we're going to take that. Now, Kevin is former NSA, National Security Agency biostatistics and algorithms expert. All the content that we've done, puts us out there for people's judgment, opens up people to perspectives and possible questions in which people are going to contact us and want to chat, this and that. So I've been talking to a guy who's, hey, can I ask Trevor and Kevin some questions? And Trevor is a professor at Big Brain University. If you're not familiar with what we're doing here, get familiar. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I would imagine that both of them would probably answer some questions. And so I asked Kev, I'm like, hey, so XYZ wants to ask some questions. He's like, huh? So I was like, you know what? That gives me an idea. Because Kevin's not really a real person. He's just my alter ego. I made him up. I made him up. He's not real. And every time that you hear us both talking, it's just I've gone back and edited over top of what I said here. So that's what's going on. And so that's where this idea of there is only one path to Kevin, and that is through me, because we're going to screen the questions for Kev. With that being said, what we're going to talk about quick is we're going to talk about what that action of belief actually is. What is the actual action that is being applied? Where does belief actually exist? What actually is it? Not what the Webster Dictionary says it is. What is it in application in reality? In our thoughts and into our actions. Then we're going to shift into Kevin's experience with that, over top of that, because Kevin was trained by the NSA, so he was trained by the elite teachers that we have available, and I think you're going to find it interesting what they taught about religion, and stay tuned for that. Then we're going to shift into some bit about student loans, then a bit about Antarctica and chislic, if there's chislic in Antarctica. Most of you don't know what chislic is. Then we're going to exit with this is the year of energy, and talk a little bit about one, synchronicity, and two, weather. So, all right, here we go. In a quick nutshell, because I have described a lot of this at length already, so I'm not going to just rehash everything about belief and even why I am explaining this. But in a quick nutshell, this belief mentality is a slave mentality. It's actually quite useless to us, and it doesn't really offer us a whole lot. And people are going to be like, whoa, oh, they're just bucking already. I know they can't. You tell somebody that, hey, man, I just don't have this belief mentality. Like, it's not how my thoughts work. I'm too self-aware of my own thoughts to, let myself slip into that belief state of mind. And they just, well, that's just a belief that you don't have a belief. And they just think that they got you cornered into this mentality. And it's like, hold on here. You don't understand what is being talked about and what's actually happening in the cognitive behavior process, which includes your consciousness, which is your thoughts. So, for example, this is where the belief gets applied. This is where it actually comes into action. And you can apply this to anything. I go and turn that faucet on over there, and then Kev comes in the room and I say, hey Kev, Is this water hot or cold? How would he possibly know? The fact is, he's going to have to test the water to find out for sure. Okay? So, where belief is actually applied is if Kevin assumes the water is cold or assumes that it is hot. Or it's after the fact that he's tested it and then he says, I believe that's cold because it was indeed cold to his touch. We can get into subjective things like that might have been hot for somebody else. But the point here is to demonstrate that when you are believing in something, you are describing that point in which your thoughts arrive at the state of thinking that something is true. So, at that point, you have options. You can choose to believe in it. You can choose to enter that state of mind where that's true, that's it. Or you can start a process of self-assessment that's also described as skepticism, that also could be described as scientific at some points. We'll tie the NSA training into that idea even as well. And the takeaway here is that this can be applied in so many ways. Like when you're talking about skepticism and replacing the belief mentality, because what do you do to not have that belief state of mind? Oh, you just start this self-assessing process that you're talking about and practice skepticism. Well, then that's a belief in skepticism. And it's like, no, again, it's that point in mental action where you are attaching yourself to something that you think is true. Now, you don't have to do that, as we've demonstrated with what temperature is the water, because you can just go check whether the water is hot or cold. And that's the only way you can really prove what you assumed. And since you have tested it, you do not need to believe it. So it's an action of thought that never needs to occur at any point in time. The substitute for more complex ideas, such as believing a story from somebody or believing a history book, for example, believing any information, is to insert almost a trained state of mind that, again, is based on a self-assessment. We've covered this self-assessing process in the past quite recently. So we detail, what that is, how to document, how you're feeling throughout the day, to start to understand your brain and your physical body. How do those both feel? Through this, and after some time, everybody's going to be a little bit different, but you'll start to understand when your brain goes into that state of wanting to believe something. You'll become self-aware of that, and you'll start to feel a little bit uneasy about it, because you'll be like, okay, I'm starting to attach to something that I think is true here, and you'll start to question, what kind of proof do I have for this? Part of your self-assessing process that was key, that Kevin provided, was that when you start to feeling confident in something, right, you also start feeling like, okay, am I missing something here? I need to reach out to my sources, my trusted sources. Like, I need to bounce this idea off people. I gotta tell people what this experience is, so I can get feedback on my thoughts here, and clarity during your self-assessing process, right? So the actual thing that we're suggesting you're replacing with belief is just not something that is captured in like a word or two, or like a simple real box. It's like, no, you guys, a simple concept here is that we've been led astray to and conditioned heavily to think in this certain way, where it's like we're just led to believe shit like our entire lives. We're just led to believe Santa Claus, learn that's a lie, we're led to believe this, led to believe that, and then through those experiences you're conditioned to the emotional letdown when those beliefs turned out to be a lie, such as Santa Claus, shit like that, right? Or even just that, someone betrayed you or lied to you, someone cheated on you, and they said they never would. It's like, and you believed them, right? You believed them. Instead of, maybe just like you wouldn't have been in such a close fucking relationship with them had you been a little more skeptical and more mindful of the situation. Like, I can really feel myself getting attached to this person. Like, are they really genuine? Like, how do I really test that and make sure like I'm not attaching to this person who says these things that they really don't mean? Or, you can substitute any example here. So without getting too far like off the rail, not that I was off the rail, but I don't want to get too far and like into explaining things. I just needed to present that, and I'm sorry that it was slightly, it wasn't paced in such a beautiful way, because I'm not reading a script to you. Like, this is raw conversation for understanding, because I want to demonstrate that this is something that you can capture in a conversation. You don't have to find it in a book. I can explain it to you, and you should be able to apply it in your thoughts and understand what I'm talking about. Now, what is so very interesting to me about this is I wrote a book. You can read it if you want. It's a short book, and the experiences I had written about in there were always just absent of this belief system aspect, where it was like thinking Jesus and Christianity or being Muslim or whatever, or Buddhist, like thinking that one path was the way, like, this is the answer, I'm going to study this one and I've got it. It was like, no, there's something bigger going on here that none of these are really, really capturing. And what I'm seeing here is this belief system, this total control through it. And now, so get this, everybody. Let's fast forward a bit to present day. I meet Kev. We go rounds for years, talking. I finally find out that he's, a former intelligence agent. It's not just something that comes out in the first fucking conversation that you have with the guy. It's like you gotta go layers deep. And so I got layers deep, and something I find very fucking interesting. I knew it the first time I met him. I'm like, this guy is just, he's got like, it's like he's been trained in the art of conversation. But I suspended that, thought, I wasn't like going to call him out like, hey, mister, you seem a little too trained in the art of conversation. Like, what's your background? It's just, no, we just kind of got to know each other over time, and talking, you slowly get to, but it's just came to be so interesting that I find out somebody that I suspected and noticed was highly intelligent, like some of the reasoning behind that, and like why he was able to understand the things I was telling him about, like, look at the patterns here in this. This is the pattern they use when we're dealing with something like this. Check out this shape of the earth subject. Like, look at the patterns here. This subject, that subject. So we come to this about religion and these belief systems, and the training I mentioned. So these guys are very well trained, very highly trained, and they're given the tools that are applicable in situational things, in thinking, in consciousness, and in action. The actual tools, the key, these same concepts that I wrote about and experienced and learned in a different way, right? You can read about that experience again, how it related to, like, and then even some of my formal education with information security. Like, Kev was trained on the information security side of things, so it was like you're just in that itself, you're taught information skepticism. Like, you're taught a process of verification and validating information. So it fits right in with, like, hold on, you don't really have belief, you don't have room for it, even in this computer process of trusting the data to be sent. At no point after a system of verification and security checks do you still assume that, or can you believe that that's still a secure channel, that you're still getting, like, I know I'm talking to Kev exactly, even though he's in Germany, but we're talking over the internet. You know, we went through a secure tunnel, we did all the protocol right, but we still can't assume that it's fucking private, right? We don't know that for sure, so we can't believe it. We're still practicing our element of skepticism. So I'm gonna let Kev talk here a bit on how, during his training, when it comes to the subject of religion and belief systems, they're not teaching them to believe in any certain religion. And you all might be like, oh yeah, of course they wouldn't do that. But okay, listen to yourself for a second. Why wouldn't they do that if the result of religion is being saved and having this spiritual armor of God that's going to keep you out of harm's way all the time and shit like that, that's going to provide you some sort of skill and benefit and talent base that's going to be applicable to what these guys are going to do, to what we are all doing in our lives as well. So why would somebody like the intelligence community, I'm just saying here, people, that we're just a little food for thought, right? Why would the intelligence community not educate and give their agents the tools if something like religion and belief systems was so useful? Instead, they teach a bit of the opposite. They teach something a little more parallel to what I've been telling you. And I have no idea why that is. I am a clueless moron who has no credibility on the subject. That's what I've come to gather about. I'm just being a little bit sarcastic there, but because it can be actually quite frustrating when you're trying to describe this to people, and it's like, I'll take the time and effort to connect with them on a human level and exchange ideas and information, and then, you know, the second that they ask, like, oh, what do you believe in? It's like, I don't. And that's where they disconnect, and they don't even treat me like a human anymore. It's like, oh, you're just a lost little puppy. You don't even know what's going on in your own head. You have no clue how to even think about the world. No credibility in that because you're just baseless, no foundation. Yeah, I'm thirsty, so I'm going to let you talk.
That's interesting. Imagine if I wouldn't have spoke and then all of a sudden, all right, at the end of the cast, and then I went missing 3 days ago, and you're like, where were you? Or like, you kidnapped me, I'm in the trunk. You're like, I got to do this cast. Like, yeah, we did a cast. He didn't speak. Like, where's your burden of proof? So no, we're here, live, well, rolled and ready. I like that one. But first of all,
you can disclaim.
My disclaimer is I do not speak for the Department of Defense, nor do I speak for any government agency. I only speak for myself. Nothing I say on these casts, verbal and or written in comments, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, opinions of the government. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only.
Only.
Maybe it's some entertainment. You take it for what it's worth.
And maybe a dash of this and a dash of that.
And the truth and reality and a different way of thinking, a perspective versus perspective shift. There's so many avenues. But for those that are brand new, Mr. Commandant over here, he has a lot of networking and computer information, while I have the worldwide experience from all different avenues. We happen to pick one in particular, which was the religion a little bit ago, and you were talking about the beliefs, and this is taught in all types of agencies per se. It's one of those to think outside the box type things, because a lot of people have the religion kind of like embedded where this is how it is and that's just the way it is,
Just let 'em believe it.
and that's fine and yada yada. But when you're in tier level 1 elite high level training, your job is to leave. You have to understand that to actually perform what religion kind of backs and says this is the way it is, it's kind of tough to do when you go outside of the United States. And for people that live in the United States, they're probably not going to really understand this concept. But when you go outside of the United States, now you're in a territory of what really is this religion? What's it going to do for me, and how is it going to help me, and how is it going to impact me based off of the belief standard? But if you have the tier level 1 elite high level trainers that go out, I'm not talking on vacation. Religion could become life and death in a matter of a symbol, wearing a cross, matter of not believing in Judaism, but you see, it's one of those parallels. Like, you have to be re-educated on the way from a different religion viewpoint, because if you go over in an area, you could like put yourself at risk. But you could also use religion regardless of what your belief is. It's almost like being a lawyer. You're going to have to lie your way through the whole situation, regardless if you believe in God or not. You're going to, like, thou shalt not. Brand, is it wrong to lie, cheat, or steal?
Yeah.
On a polygraph.
That's
yeah,
right.
That's
right.
But
Those are hell worthy
you get the pass when it comes to, like, I'm going to lie and say I'm not Christian so I don't get killed. Like, I'm Jewish.
You can't do that.
See, that's where...
That's lying.
That's why people would understand that that's all bullshit, because if you're put in a situation and that's it, well, why were you put in a situation to put God in the mix and they cut your head off, versus if you said you were
that's God's will.
Romanian, whatever the religion that would be acceptable, as far as just like the 3 religions that are anti in certain countries, but there's also 3 that are really positive. So
that was God's plan for you, to have your head chopped off.
you got to prepare for the worst. Now,
So
those guys go in with the mindset of, there's something, but we ain't relying on God today, fellas. We're going to go into this and take care of business, and I don't care if we have to become Muslims for the next 2 weeks. That's our mission statement. That's our what we want to do, and you could even have people that try to travel the world and try to change it through like humanitarian, change it through like to try to better the world. Like those people can use religion 8 days a week and maybe not get killed. But if you get kidnapped and but if you're put into a situation where you've got to go into that training, you got to be reprogrammed about that religion. That's why you had said about how it's a battle that can't be won, but it's also a battle that can't be fought with. It's one of those where,
yeah. So then, on top of that was another layer where, when you got intercepted by them, and we're going through like initial training and stuff like that, you'd mentioned they were like, well, take everything you know and kind of erase it, because none of it's really. This is what you're gonna be. So that's also very interesting parallel, because that I also wrote about having the same experience. I was like, when I figured all this out, and I'm like, okay, belief mentality was just part of it, but it just so happens to be a very key part of it. And when we're talking about paradigm shift, like into a new consciousness, like evolving as a species, as a humanity, we're talking about things like exiting the belief system paradigm, where this old way of slave thinking, where we are replacing that with, we're all skeptics. We're all looking for something that we can really prove here. Like, let's let go of these fucking childish little beliefs that none of us can ever prove. It's not doing anything for anybody, except you can argue that, look, this organized religion thing is helping people who need it. But that's also the result of a fucking society that's set up to create this kind of suffering and poverty. So you can't say that a bad thing is a good thing ultimately, when it's a part and a result and a complicit piece of this system that is perpetuating itself. This whole system is a self-perpetuating system. That's the trick of it. We have to do it to ourselves. And how that's accomplished is they stick us in these belief systems. So then you can't question them, right? You don't want to question somebody's beliefs. What do you believe then? It just divides us. When the reality of the story here is, the truth is something that's beyond your beliefs. So I find it very interesting that the NSA would train their people that those things that the barnyard is learning, the whole education system, the religious system, the political system, the economic system, it's all a show. It's all for the barnyard. It's all a system of control. It's one multifaceted system of control. Whether it's different governments here or there, they're all just different little systems of control, and they're essentially working together. So the things that I wrote in my book that I suspected seem to be resonating again years and years later now, when we're talking about things like how the NSA trains their people, highest level that you guys can get to. Like, who are you going to go to above the NSA, you guys? Who? For training and resources. You don't even know. You wouldn't even have an answer for me. So
and not for
I
me,
have to take that as a little bit of like a
and not for me, because
point of reference for the things that the questions that I'm trying to answer and have been trying to answer since before I met Kev.
Yep, and I will I'm not confirm or deny any who's the best, who's the most, like, who has the best knowledge.
Who's the best religion, Kev?
Exactly, it's kind of like that. Nobody will ever. You can't.
They didn't tell you which one was right in the intelligence community.
They said that.
Well, how inclusive of them.
In the religion,
that's very woke.
The religion was, in Germany, being a Christian, you're okay. You go to you go to Dubai as a
he was on
civilized
Autobahn.
Christian. Civilized Christian, you could be kidnapped, murdered, whatever. So it's the only thing I was taught about religion. It can get you things, but it can also be it's a jaded. You have to follow the sheep and the religion around the world. That's the thing with the religion. The sheep, we're trapped in this society of whatever people are believing. We're the only country that has the independence and freedom to really like do whatever the fuck with the religion, into a sense. But other countries, it could be used as, we'll kill you, or if you follow us, we'll give you a place to stay. See, now you follow, now whether it's evil or not,
job.
it's your job,
Take care of you.
See, that's the thing. Now you have to be like, well, I'm not doing that, so I'm going back to my lovely America, and lovely America is a great place. It's just, between the political divisions in this country when I came out of the Matrix, and I'm like, I thought this was a psyop. I thought this was just a hoax, and then I saw it repeat itself 2 years, and I'm like, there's something to this, and I'm like, yeah, this is some bullshit, but yeah, it's just so much division, way too much division. That would get you killed in certain avenues. So
yeah, yep.
But the military, as far as the structures of belief concept, it goes hand in hand. But when I was intercepted, it was 6 months after 9/11. So think about 9/11 just happened. Americans hate all fucking I mean, every kind of like perception and perspective was really magnified. It was like we didn't know all the details, but damn, we hate everybody. Like now you take the religion. That's where the religion kind of transpired me, because I knew before, but when I got intercepted, remember, it's the 1%, and I just had this thought mentality that there's something that's going wrong in this culture. I want to get outside of this bubble of the United States, and I want to go see what's on over there, around the world. But I knew there was something, so I didn't know it, and get intercepted, and it's like, fucking throw everything you know out the window. We're not in fucking Playland anymore. This isn't fairy tale fucking Disneyland. Religion, fucking, you got it, you keep it to yourself, we press on. Education, you got what you needed, fucking, you should have pressed on a long time ago. We gotta reset, almost not back to like a 7-year-old mindset, but that kind of mindset where, you know what, I'm not believing what mom, but whoever said, you know, that kind of like that negativity, but you knew you were right. When I got intercepted, right, 6 months after 9/11, it was just probably the algorithms, and I had a secret clearance that got me into just like, you know, go to the government and be like, I want to do Homeland Security, but the Air Force was the college way to go at the time, and then I was thinking 4 years, but I was on suspend as far as stop loss. They put you on hold. So 9/11 happened, but when I got picked up in the algorithm, it was because they had everything with my medical for 4 years. So when I got into that, then I went into a level of, we need to interview you. And that's kind of, I get a phone call, and I'm like, what's going on? And like, don't ask questions, and like, step by step. So I followed the steps. Like, the 1% of the country like is calling me, offering me something, because of I've had 4 years of like no drugs, no like, I didn't have a polygraph at that time. That was the fucking, that's when shit got like, whoa, like I kind of want to go back into that like other structure. But that 1%, when they intercepted, I said, holy shit. And then step by step by step by step by step, and it took about a year plus process. And then that's when it started, because if you started questioning religion, they're like, would you be able to XYZ in this situation based off your beliefs? And it was a scenario, and if you're like, no, that's an X. Like, okay, you get like 5 questions. That would be like the religion. And the other one is like, how loyal are you to family? You know, you're 22 years old. You have a lot of friends. Like, are you willing to just like leave and like erase, kind of like you have no, like, can't have any interferences as far as like, you know, past relationships? And I said, I'm ready, like, because I'm going to get out of this relationship I'm in now. And it's like my getaway. And like, get me out of here. So when you got those 2 parallels, it was the religion was one of those disqualifiers, honestly.
Yeah.
In avenues, like it's like you're that's what's the big thing, and I had to think like, why would this be such a big deal? Because they said that people are jaded, just like that's when I said, he said, you forget about, keep your religion what you have to this point and tuck it back.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't have any worries about that. And he's like, well, we have people that, you know, you go to Germany, like
Right.
there's certain you can't, you know, and I said, what fucking religion is it then? It's don't ask, but ask if you keep asking about, we'll have to kill you type religion. And so they put that on the back burner. So there, and then the education kind of parallel itself, and then that same shit. There's fucking no way that you can use the mundane stuff that was taught.
Yeah, to get to the next level.
You can't. It's impossible. It's like that's why the algorithm. And then they just knew, like, holy shit. Like, but there was hundreds of people that, in all different one. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And everybody had something different. It could have been border security. It could have been multiple things. I just happened to get picked up in the 1%, and then it tiered down to like the 2%, and then it tiered down into the 1.5%, and then it just kept tiered and tiered. And then I'm like, holy fuck, this is fucking cool.
Anybody who's read my book, now I've been looking for answers and people to relate with on the experiences that I've had. Now, when Kevin tells me this story of how he was intercepted and how the things he had to let go of and the everything was wrong thing, those of you who have read my book, you're going to feel like you're reading almost the same book because it's so parallel. And what he said there was so key that it was also very parallel and key in what I experienced, because had I used these old world ways of thinking, these belief systems, the Jesus thing, whatever it could have been, I wouldn't have been able to have the experiences I had, because I would have been slightly jaded and biased and unopened to receiving the information I needed to have to get the answers that I asked. So there's a parallel here where it's like, come on, people. Come on. Like, let's elevate, because this is obviously occurring and we have documented proof of it. So now to shift into...
But before that...
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I've been to 76 countries, to give you just an idea, in all 6 continents. When I mean all 6 continents, we know there's a 7th lingering out there, but we don't know if we ever going to get there. The old Antarctica, and then we'll funnel that in with the chislic. But I have the world experience, traveling, seeing multiple cultures, I know multiple languages, I know multiple things. That's all paralleled into that. There's no way you can go on 2-week vacation. You can go do that and live your life. But goddamn, you're going to go live in another country. Not only than that, 76. Find somebody else besides the Pope that has done that. So I'm kind of backing this with credibility as far as my travel aspect, that I've seen the world. So, like, what more of a better opportunity to get the clarification of certain things? The religion's a perfect one.
Yeah.
If you had everybody travel 76 different countries, fucking, you're gonna no. We're gonna have a whole, unless you're there for retreat, unless you're there for religious purposes. That's the thing. There's no reason why religion would have played a positive role in going forward in where I was drifting off in the matrix. But I didn't look back at all that. But now that I parallel forward, I've seen since 2016 up to right before COVID, I saw, and I said, this is going to play out systematically, just like, and that's kind of what it did. But the credibility is there, so think about it, y'all.
Yeah,
I got to travel all those countries and just see the world and understand America's a great place to live. Freedoms, we got so much diversion. And and the United States is the only country that has the independence that we do, are all of the stuff that we have. No other countries have tried to offer independence to but it didn't work. We're the only country, but we have with the cost of it, the negative that comes with it. So I'm telling you, it's a strange place to live after coming back, and they said, you fucking good luck adapting, good luck settling back into the fucking, you ain't gonna do it. I said, bullshit, I'm gonna do something. And of course I did, and I did it very effective and well, and I used my tools, resources, knowledge to create something for a few years. And I created it, and it worked, and it was so passionate. And then I put that on the back burner. And then I'm like, let me rejoin back into and see what old 9 to 5's up to, and what all this bullshit that comes with the mundane of corporate America ain't gonna happen. I said, oh, it'll happen. Fuck that. And then sure as shit, here I am, trapped inside of it, but I'm glad that there's another view looking out versus just trapped. So that's it, folks. I got all the travel expertise and
all the credibility to back that up and be like, I wouldn't even press these kind of issues, but it's like I had that 1% type of experience where I'm not hearing and seeing people talk about these things. And the things that I experienced, the fucking world wouldn't be the way it is if you were all aware of this and thinking the same way and experiencing the same things. Even if you knew that I did, you wouldn't be acting and thinking the shit that you are. So it's like when I come together with Kevin, it's like, holy shit, man, we have these like 1% type of stories where it's like experience-wise, both coming from different places on the spectrum, but having a very parallel type of experience. I just wanted to add that in here again to maintain the level here that we're on.
I was surrounded by top elite level tier 1 operators. When I mean operators, we're talking like fucking operators. They're the tier 1 elite people. But I've also met the trainers that train. So the parallels of these legs of knowledge, and you got to think people pass away after time. How do you
Right.
And it's like, man,
right.
Fucking join into that, and then you're taken back, and it's like, it's strange.
Completely different,
completely different.
So to shift into the student loan thing, because we can keep going on that, but I think we demonstrated a really nice point there in several different ways in just about 42 minutes. So that should be enough for you all to chew on that
Play
subject.
On 1.5, just burn through it.
1.5, get through it.
1.1.
It's not like we're speaking super fast here. We're kind of at a pace that like everybody can sort of understand. And
we had to break out of the football chaos and get back into like normal conversation.
We're not exactly using big words like we would too. So it's like, I hope, a lot of people don't understand that too. Anyway, the student loan thing, Kevin has like 3 things written down here about it that we're going to chat about a little bit. Because this is just on a little hot topic. Everybody's kind of mixed feelings on it maybe. They're not necessarily mixed feelings, but I think it's important to acknowledge both sides of the argument, obviously. So one of the arguments that I heard that was, resonated with me, and I was like, you know what, I can really feel, I can resonate with that reason why you wouldn't want these students to be bailed out. And it was because when these loans were made and taken out, they weren't necessarily audited and tracked. Like you could go and you could use the loan money for whatever. It was just a check.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Pig butchery, motherfuckers, ready to roll.
You could use it for anything. So what they would do is they would just take out these student loans, invest it in other stuff, and never actually even like have it intended for education. And the people that know that this happened, they're like, what, we're supposed to go and pay that bill now? That's what you're telling me? That sounds absurd to most people when you look at it that way, when it's that perspective. correct? I think I would agree with most people that that's absurd. Why would we do that? That doesn't make sense. But then what about the people who did actually go get the degrees? Right? What about them? So then it's a little bit different. So how would we go and filter this? That's a question that would take manpower, resources to find out. And is it really even worth it? When the solution of the matter is we got to stop making the loans. We have to reform education entirely. And I didn't get this, Kev. I didn't mention this, but now that it's on my head, how about this idea? Now, I understand that a foreign language in America isn't a requirement to graduate, to take your GED and pass, right? You don't have to really have a foreign language on there. Not to my knowledge, anyway. You might have to have some basic stuff, but
Japanese was mine in my first year of college at U of A.
At college,
University of Arizona,
okay.
Shout Wildcats.
Like
down
GED for
down
high
in
school.
Tucson.
We'd have
Love
to check
Tucson.
on that.
But that was there was a what the associates. I don't even know what the fuck I was getting, bro. I was just like one of the
Taking
fucking
classes.
visit the nice golf courses and bang hot U of A chicks and like, oh man. But then the Japanese was the one that I had took for 6 months and I learned, but that was the one requirement. Like, let me get Japanese out of the way because my goal was to go visit Japan and marry a Japanese and like that whole. This was before I got intercepted. Think about before everything 9/11.
Yeah.
It was my fairy tale land. Like that, I was gonna TSA in Tokyo.
Yep.
TSA Tokyo was like speak the language, then I can live there and get out of this. And I didn't even know what getting out of America was like until I fucking saw it. I'm like, whoa, ready to go.
So where I was going with that is you can already, so like if you had to take that in high school as a required class, you could just use the Duolingo app and replace your class. And you could learn at your own pace and you could probably pass a test because you'd be able to speak, pretty well. Like the Duolingo app, I've been on it for a couple weeks now, 14-day streak.
Guten Tag.
And I can, I'm picking up on some German. Like it's
not
not too bad. Like I don't know a ton of words yet, but I'm getting a good gist. So the point here is, we'll just apply that to math, science, whatever the fuck else they're teaching in high school. You can teach it on these apps these days. These kids don't have to go to fucking class. I learned more playing the game Number Munchers and Word Munchers. They were two different games. I learned more from those games than I ever learned in like elementary to grade school type of level classes, because that's what the games were programmed for. But you could program those games to teach at a higher level too. So what we're talking about here is like this whole fucking K through 12 public education system onto the post-secondary education system is totally fucking replaceable right now. It can be totally dumped out. We don't have to send the kids to school anymore. Anybody over the age of 7 who is interested in going and trying to learn to do something, because if a 7-year-old can do it, fucking almost anybody can do it. And there's a lot of jobs out here right now that a 7-year-old could do for an hour to 3 hours a day. And we could teach these kids on-the-job training. And I'm not saying it's got to be 7 years old, so don't go getting your stuff lost in the weeds on this one. I'm just saying, for example,
if you can teach a 7-year-old to do something and they can do it, then anybody with a 7-year-old brain and higher should be able to do.
Right. That's why they started sending them to these classes in this box school right away to just condition this learning
because that 7,
it's not even learning.
That 7 either advanced.
They're conditioning belief systems is what they're doing.
That 7 either gets advanced past a certain time frame, or it gets held back.
Oh, and you gotta learn at the pace of the teacher.
And that's where that's where we start realizing, like, if you go against certain things, like
fucking nine money,
it's almost like a prison. It's like
it was for me. It was like such a waste of my time. I was so fast to learn things. Like, even when it was basic reading, Kev, I remember this. I was so held back because the teacher wouldn't even let me read the books. I was like, hey, I want to read those books over there. Those are the books that you say are more advanced. Like, let me read them. They're like, oh, you're not ready for that yet. What the fuck? What are you talking about? I'm not ready for them. You're just trying to hold me back. So I always experienced that as growing up and having to go through K through 12. I hated it. And I thought everybody was stupid for it. But it was just something, okay, well, that's the way things are. So I got brainwashed and conditioned to go into that. And then I got intercepted and pulled out of it. So, not to get going on that, but I wanted to touch on, let's reform this whole education. We can do it with friggin' apps these days. We don't have to be wasting all this collective time and collective money. So that'll help us solve the student loan crisis right there. Because we'll totally dissolve all these stupid apparatuses that are propped up. And you're going to say, oh, well, what do we do with the teachers then? And what do they do? And, they need jobs. What are they going to do? Guys, there's more than enough money to go around here. They're printing it from nothing anyway. It's like you can fucking make it up. Just put $5,000 in everybody's bank account every day and just have them pay for all this shit like they are. Who fucking cares? Like, now I'm going to an extreme here, but I'm making a point. Like, we can just change things the way we want them to be. We're not restricted to these systems that are just set here to control us. These systems are here so we control ourselves by using them. Because we don't know any better. We're not skeptical enough. We believe that we're at the epitome of evolution, baby. We're going to Mars, Kev.
One way, ain't coming back. Bitches.
If you wanted to get into your list of 3 things about student loans before we hop off the subject, I think I'm done railing on that one for a moment at least.
Well, I'm going to look at it 2 ways. From the path that if I would not have gotten intercepted, that meaning if something happened as a result, obviously 9/11 happened 6 months later, I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, you can continue or we can put you, and that's how that starts. So then I'm like, if I say fuck no, then like I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna wake up when I'm 60 or whatever, and I'm gonna remember I missed out on everything, but I went with it. So the path is, meaning I couldn't have went to college to get a degree and did what I did. There's no way. There's just like you can't go to college and be like, hey, I want to go, but you don't know what it's like. You want to be a world traveler, get your degree in world traveling.
Oh.
Okay?
I never thought of that.
But that was like, you couldn't. So I look now what the education system is, how mundane and still that it hasn't changed at all.
No.
But I want to preference on, well, first of all, the military was the avenue. I said, give me 4 years and go, and I'll fucking I'll get to Japan one way or another. And I said, no, I'm gonna bypass. And so anyway, that was the thing. And then now, what I was gonna mean by that was, now education is going away with payments and all, with the student loans. So there's gonna be no incentive for some people to like jump into like, oh, I get to go do whatever, but I have to give up living in America, all that stuff. But it just, it's just sad because, the education system. And I went out of state. That's how smart, dumb I am. Cost of college. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to and then I said, well, 9/11 happened. That changed everything. And then bam, intercepted and then ready to roll. But what I want to preference on is the young people. When I went to some of these college or high school graduations that recently happened, and a lot of people probably have attended a bunch of them or a few of them or maybe none or just did it virtually. These young kids were asking like, what's the key to achieving like success? If someone under the age of 18 who is unsure comes to you for advice. So I got asked these questions. I'm kind of different as far as, well, what do you do? That's a good question, because I tried to fill out job applications when I got out of this matrix thing, and I couldn't put anything down. And people were like, what's your history? I traveled the world. Oh, shoot. Well, I thought that getting a degree by any cost and studying into any field is the solution. So the young kids would ask that, and I said, achieving success is through hard work, determination, and practical thinking. You use your knowledge making the connections that you create, or they find you. The connections is the key piece right there. So the first thing in the student loan crisis is, how do we start figuring this out? That's the misconceptions. The belief in having a degree at any cost and study in any field is the solution. And people fund this idea, myself, you, and the rest of the public. Achieving success is through hard work, determination, practical thinking, like I said, and the connections. That's the first step. So.
I want to unpack, but I'd be repeating myself right now. It's all very interesting. Because they believe it, we are doing it, and it keeps going on. Because we believe that, you go to school, you get the degree, and this and that, just like you said.
I had the electrician. I think about this concept. You want to put some kids into it's 16 years old, fucking 14. You could probably get a 7-year-old to do some of these things that these individuals do in these fields. I always put things in 3. Things are always in 3. Water, air, electric. Water, air, electric. Water, air, electric, right?
Okay.
So water, air, and electric people came over. 3 of them, with all 3 different knowledges: plumbing, hot water, AC. Mm-hmm. And I was asking them about that college degree, and they said none of them have it. And I said, I wish I had a cast going on, because we talk about how effortlessly it is if you think differently. And not one of them went to college. And and I said, what did you guys start at? Remember, this was pre-COVID. So 5 years they'd been in. So they experienced that COVID. And then 80,000 starting pay. So think about that. Those 3 right there. There's endless houses are being built all the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if you went to college for 2 years with intent to do that, you're a fool. They are a fool. People are a fool.
Oh, you're not going to college? You're dumb.
So that's the thing. It's a different way of how are we going to transition into getting away from college to fucking knowledge, man. It's not about
conventional
wisdom. It's all about who.
You've always put it as conventional wisdom. This old way of trying to do things, that believing that the old ways is like what made us evolve.
That's just the way.
You guys,
that's just the way things have always been.
We've been sold a bad beat on this history thing, and we don't really understand where we are at a point in time. This is all a control grid right here. That's why we can't leave it.
Right. Now, that's an example of somebody that wants to work. It looks like tedious work, but I'm sure there's little things that they could say, 7-year-old, go grab this out of the, you could get a 7-year-old doing these, but.
Most things in a restaurant, besides maybe on the hot grill or something like that. Most things a 7-year-old could do. But even wash the dishes, put them away, dry them.
But if you're going to use the skills and learning like they're going to train you, they're the same thing they're going to say. Forget about what you learned before this. This is the same thing when I got intercepted, but it's a whole nother, it's a way bigger. It's like a 90% push of just like, versus the electricians just like, okay, I won't worry about speech class and fucking studies for college. And next thing you know, it's just like, whoa, this education thing is a little bit going back. Fucking, it's not going forward anywhere. It's just, but I think that the student debt crisis significantly is hindering us taxpayers' investment in our country. The government gotta discontinue insurance on all of the loans to address this issue. As taxpayers support them, our government must continue the support backing. We can effectively address the underlying problems and provide a solution to this crisis by terminating all these loans. To effectively fix this solution, we gotta remove people from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. It's always the same patterns, isn't it? We have to replace the old way of thinking. Replacing the old way of thinking comes along with replacing the systems that we have in place. So you can take that the opposite way too. We got to replace these systems, such as education, with something that's going to be a new way of thinking. That's what would be the point if we redid the education system just to teach everybody to fucking believe shit again?
And then
Like, don't think about it. Don't practice skepticism. And just, never. It's, you have to teach. You got to teach people what's happening in their minds, or they're not going to understand. This is key for things like emotional intelligence, being able to manage your emotions and unattach from anger, and like we were talking about last episode with the fight, flight, or freeze phenomena, where it's just a reaction of your database that gets pinged in that moment. Just like the moment that you get asked a question while you're taking a polygraph, you have a reaction. No matter how well your nerves are trained or not, you're still going to have a reaction. You're not dead. So you will have a reaction. So, yeah.
Free education, does that mean teachers work for free? Because that's the parallel of my next thing. How, like, this big amount of money that John Q. taxpayers owe.
Well, just along with the money is the way that we think about it. Again, it doesn't even need to exist.
Student athletes is non-existent. We'll forward through that too right away. Athletes used to go to college to get that free education. Think about this. The students are not getting paid to all this. Which breaks two barriers. In the military, free education. See how those two hand in hand? But they are now getting paid. There's no more student athletes. So what exactly is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on when they're getting paid?
There's a push away
What are they
from
getting their degree in?
Exactly.
Do you think anybody that becomes that's involved in elite like organizations, NFL, all these organizations, it's like everything that you learn, you see how they are forced to think a different way. But that's the...
Oh, that was the key word that we were talking about. Forced belief.
Yeah.
Like, belief mentality is really more of a result of forced way of thinking than it is a skeptical way of thinking.
They might need to learn how to public speak if they just don't know how to.
Yeah.
But they may be really good at like running the business with books and numbers. Like they could be like an expert, but beyond that, they're like.
That was the key word that you repeated, that I was having a conversation with the guy earlier. That it was like, you said the same thing, and I was like, yep, that's the key right there. It's that forced behavior that people just kind of, they think it's, I won't get into all the details on that, man, because it pings all my hyperlinks too, and it's like my hyperlinks that contain a lot of information that Kev knows here, but most of you do not. And it really has to do with like how people think, how have they compartmentalized their themselves according to their public, private, secret life, and not to get going on that.
Well, that's a perfect example. It took X amount of time. That's the perfect example. Public, private, secret. You're like, man, There's something fucking up with this guy. The only thing you got is like, it would have been, anything would have been out of my private. That means, that'd be like an example. You and the neighbor are having beers. You know the neighbor's like former whatever. And then like everybody else doesn't know. But that's you know how long it took for that to be like evolved? Because I was trying to put myself back into the matrix to try to like, whoa. But came from, you know, go nonstop and then seeing the world, blah, blah, blah. But try to settle into I'm like, man, this is going to be a fucking struggle. And that's kind of like how it all shifted.
It starts to feel like a turtle race real quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, because that's where it all was like, yeah. I mean, what the fuck you going? Yeah, can you imagine it? Like, it's like when you come from a environment of
You're
pulling,
so far
when you
ahead.
want to get as many secrets, as much compartmentalized information, but you can never like completely, like, you know.
Yeah.
You can't ever, but then when you're put into, you're like, man, you just gotta like, I'll ask questions. I'm always, that was a bit, always be closing, always be asking questions. Salesman, espionage, corporation control, all that evolves around, just like interrogation, just like anything that becomes where you can put your mindset into that. You have information superiority because you know everything you don't know, example. But then other people, if you try to explain to them, they're going to be like, what the fuck? And it took fucking, who knows it? Probably, I don't even know how long. I mean, I think I mentioned something to somebody and then I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about going back into the old fucking, going back because this is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is divided bullshit between this goddamn, everything's chaos. And I can't get in, I can't even fucking like relate to agree to a disagree. And they're like, oh, if you don't agree, like it would be so much like, well, if you don't agree with what Trump says, then you fucking love, and I'm like, man, I don't know anything about it. It's like, you got, like, see how that tribage?
Yeah, this small tribalism in this one country that's so divided.
So divided, and I said, I'm done. I'm like,
you were like, fuck that. I'm never going to be able to communicate with you people.
There's no way. Like, I was trying to find something where I didn't have to live out in, like, the East Coast, Virginia, Maryland, West Coast, Yachty. Colorado Springs was kind of like I think I could went there and just fit in. Because there's certain areas of the United States that if you threw word up, like they'll tell you, like, hey, there's a community golf, but it would be like there's a community of, like they just live in, and they're all like barbecuing and they're all communicating.
But they know,
versus and that's the scary thing.
Yeah.
And that was the most scary thing and terrifying. And I said, no, this is not there's something never changed. Like, fucking nothing changed in this society. It got worse, way worse. Right, and I'm so glad that I got to go and leave and see it just evolve. But when I came back, I'm like, this is fucking not.
Like, how did we get more divided after 9/11?
I'm like, what the
That's
fuck?
all we've done.
Why are we protecting a country that's so fucking divided that there's no? It's impossible to make everybody happy. I get it.
That's right.
But Jesus, Lord, did I say, what am I going to do? I said, I don't know. And I got some advice, and man, 2 years of like cognitive therapy with somebody a psychologist that their job is to pull secrets out of people just to fucking figure out, oh, you're cheating on but motherfucking trying to pull trying to pull information out of somebody that it's compartmentalized. Like, what the fuck? How you gonna get it? Well, we gotta fucking rewire the brain. I'm like, I ain't going back into this bullshit. And then I said, well, let me try to address the situation, because it was bothersome, because I couldn't fit into like a situation. Like, I wanted to go work in a place, but I wanted to do some sort of something, and then I got to do something else. And I said, man, y'all talk to me this way? Fuck you, man. I said, I am fucking done, because I got another.
Yeah,
I got
the fuck
outs.
you think
I
you're
had
talking
outs.
to?
I had outs, and I
Exactly.
gave it 3 shots, man. I said that third, and I done, and I said that's it, and I said I'm gonna fit into this bullshit, but I'm going to handle it in a manner that I gotta be like, okay, fuck it. I'm not in fucking
Yeah.
Frankfurt, Germany, but I'm also reflecting that America's a great place to live. Running water,
Yeah.
meet in just the little things that make up for kind of like the division. I get it.
Yeah.
But like I said, we are the only country that has the independence to kind of like fucking go with what our culture says. Hey, if you just go with everybody, you're gonna be fine. Just go with everybody, and that's what we do. We just keep following. But step back and through another lens, it's paradigm shift in thinking. And I'm telling you, people get it eventually. Like I said, I didn't want to wake up when I was like fucking 65 and be like, I missed out on fucking everything. I said, I'm going to jump in the 1% and the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, and I'm going to really figure out what's going on. Like, I got to see the world before it's too late. And I was fucking that young, and bam, ready to roll. And then it turned into another interception, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 2005 to 6. Another interception. Bam! Woo! Man, that journey, fucking. And then now come back into this crisis. So that's kind of like my rant when it comes to why people be like, well, why don't you just like find other people that are successful and do what they do? Because I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking whatever. I'm not gonna work my way up a ladder.
Yeah. It's
Not a fucking chance. Not
you
hours
really
for dollars.
have
Fuck that.
to,
No more.
you have to compartmentalize that part of your life where it's like, man, if you only knew if I could just like install all the experiences into your brain. It's like the people in the barnyard where it's like having to come back and re-assimilate into this society. It's like they would act so much differently.
Like go back
Their
to
whole
the
perspective would shift and their mentality would shift, and it's like that's what we are trying. Like part of why we're just sharing all this information with you people, because we can see that it would change the world, and I appreciate that religion and Christianity has the ability to help some people, but if it's really so effective, not to mention why they're not teaching their agents in the intelligence community this, but the world wouldn't be so fucking divided and full of hatred and evil and shit if your religion was actually effective. So it's kind of proven to have run its course, and it also needs to be replaced, just like the education system. And I understand that's, I wouldn't call it wishful thinking. I would call it representative of what needs to happen if we want to take society to an evolving point. But I'm also still very real about the fact that, man, it's pretty tough for people to even understand a simple like shift in how like a belief mentality works. Like people seem to really buck at the heel when I bring this up, but maybe it's not for everybody, and I don't know. People, I don't know what might happen with all that, but we can at least present the information for people out there to do with what they please, and it'll be very useful for some people, and that will really
somebody wants to figure out shit. It's like, how am I going to piece this all together?
Yeah, I think that's what kind of makes this worth our time, is like there's going to be somebody out there that it really helps, and not that we're just like, hey, we're just here to try to help people. It's a little bit different than that.
If I wanted to go fucking make a fuckload of money,
if I wanted to help somebody, I'd go at the fucking corner and help the old ladies cross the street.
If I want to go make, I could write the check. How many commas do I want to put in it?
Yeah.
The ethical way, I'd be gone. I'd be like, yeah, let's go fucking make some. Yeah, bullshit. That's not the point.
Right.
The point is trying to educate on how it's things aren't the way. It's just,
and it's also to a level where if you're not aware of the stuff that happened in my book, like then you're just not aware of like one, the spiritual level, and two, like galactic sort of cosmic level that this is on. It's like You think a couple like 1%ers are gonna come together from different parts of the spectrum and be like, have fucking just nothing to offer but just like some sort of opinions on the matter? It's like, no, like I'm connected to something that I can't really explain with like few words and just be like, hey, this, and now you know. It's like, no, there's this whole like experience that was tied to my thoughts. It's like there's a message and messages to extract from it, and it's like, I found myself being so alone on having to do it, on having to like try to figure out, well fuck man, what even happened? You know, what really happened? And it's like, so I get some people to read the book, and it's like, you know, they give me some feedback, and
your book's
like,
great, man. I was saying how some people can read through it really quick. You know, that's not a lot of pages to get through. And
yeah,
when I read that was back before COVID, but I just remember the little things that you were.
Yeah,
you know, they still to this day
yeah, some of the little
something.
details that Kev was talking. We were talking a little bit about it on Wednesday, and then Thursday was just so heavy with synchronicities. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I've been just so like charged up with energy. I've been like, Kev's been saying this is the year of energy, and so this is where our conversation here kind of shifts towards Antarctica, Chislic, and the weather. The year of energy is, not only did we kind of forecast and predict that this year is going to have some weird energy as far as the weather and weather patterns that we're going to see, which we've already seen, like kind of, I don't know if a record number of tornadoes, but you know, quite a few
on pace
already.
We're June 1st tomorrow, and every record has already been broken for like within the last.
Yeah, it's like not even summer yet.
Oh, and it was snowing. It's just crazy.
It was fucking 85 degrees like in March.
Energy is on its way, presented and accounted for. That's the thing. It's accounted for. It's like it's fucking here.
So it's like energy manipulation in a form of weather. And also, I would assume right along with that is going to be multiple levels of other energy shifts going on too. I know I'm experiencing it because it's like I can fucking talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and type and type and type and just basically until I get like tired for the day. But I can spend all day doing that. Like I can take over multiple chat rooms at one time and manage the entire conversations, like dictate the entire conversation, because I know just key little things that I can say. You know, and some of you who might listen to this who have seen me in chat rooms, it's like, listen to me, you're not getting me representing myself here. That would just be so stupid to even do in a chat room. I don't understand. That doesn't really compute to me why I would be like, hey guys, hear who I am in this chat room. I'd be like, you can't even hear my voice, see my face, hear the tone of my voice, right? Like, so you don't know if I'm being sarcastic, you don't know if I'm joking, you just don't know anything. You can't verify anything. You don't know if I'm putting you on a ruse. Like, you don't know if I'm just presenting information. And one of the reasons is for that is because people don't have the elevated intelligence about these belief things to be like, to look at somebody presenting information and think that they're not tied to it personally. Like, I'll go and present information and they're just like, oh, so you believe that? You just said it. I'm like, holy fuck, I just copy-pasted it from a source I just found 10 minutes ago. It's saying some pretty interesting things, you know? Let's see what you say about it. And they come at me about it instead of talking about the subject. It's like, man, you people, you don't even know how to fucking converse with each other about subject material. You're too fucking busy worrying about the me and the you and that person, their beliefs and shit, because you just want to target them. You don't want to talk about the subject material. You want to target them and skirt around belief systems because that's more of a comfortable way for you to speak instead of having to really get down in the gritty, set yourself aside, you know, put your emotions on the shelf and really just analyze the subject material. Sorry, I might be getting a little bit off there, but off the subject, but I had to mention.
The thing I was going to end with education and student loans was, this is what I would address to Congress if I was somehow, whatever, got promoted up to the chain of whatever in the matrix. And my goal was to go and help fix this. Here's what I would say. As the first step, we must extract people from this noxious and inoculate circumstance. It is an immense and complete failure. Where do we, the people, stand? Even though we are not sure, we must end the practical of Congress allowing guaranteed loans. The burden of debt will become instrumental with this idea. Could the student loan crisis bring about any advantages? There might be, but a crisis like a car accident can lead to positive outcomes. I do not imply that auto accidents are unavoidable despite this response. Putting an end to the deceptive nature of education and federal loans, we cannot resolve the problem by continuously making it worse. The Javel. 5 minutes. You have you got 5 minutes to talk, Senator from Rhode Island, and then they're like, all right. So, and that's like, man, I'd be up there yelling at them.
Is this where we can announce your your eventual candidacy for political office?
I guess I've had this in the whole playbook.
I mean, who else would we want? You all like somebody who hasn't traveled the world, somebody who hasn't been trained.
And I've seen how the world works with education in multiple countries. Meaning, we are the Europeans laugh at how
I got a taste of that. I got a taste of the year because the first job I got out of college was with a European country that was based on educational professional development. So they were teaching their teachers how to teach better. So, and they were in multiple countries, dude, like around the world. So that was my first taste of that too. That's very interesting that you said that.
I met with a bunch of teachers, like teachers when they graduated college, their degree was fluent Thai, fluent Mandarin, but they go over planted. Not in a government sector role, but a fucking teacher.
Yep.
And they get to see how it's so it's so different. When I talked to them, they said, if we could just twist a little bit of things with the United States, we would like save so much hassle.
Oh yeah.
Way much hassle.
Big time.
And even like the simple things of when I was interviewed, after the, when I got out of the Matrix and I'm back, and I was looking for something, but I was like, let me try not to live on the East or West Coast. And they said, the top tier was in the chat, the group, the Zoom. Mm. And they said, do you have any question? Do you have a question for like this person? And before we close, and I said, yeah, I have a question, because there's something about critical thinking, because they were asking critical thinking, and I had to respond with like just critical thinking.
They were teaching critical thinking
just to see, because it was for a position that I wanted to like.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was.
I've never heard of such a thing.
And then they asked, do you have any questions? And I said, can you teach how do you teach the internet to a 5-year-old? Mm. And he had to respond with, how do you do that?
I'd see. I don't want to interrupt you or get off. I just want to. I would like the job of training intelligence people.
But the job wasn't for critical thinking. It was just how can you qualify to do critical thinking in certain situations.
So they were just testing your ability to
just to see what different versus here's an assignment. What do you know? What do you know off the top of your head? And it was kind of like that. And I was like, that's kind of what I wanted to get into, like where I could maybe work at a Fortune 500 company doing something that, whatever, man. Like the tools and resources were when you're dealing with human intelligence, which is ultimately what that's what we do. It was how can I apply that out, how can I incorporate it? And it's kind of tough to do without moving to a lot of different locations. And I said, nah. But that was like a question. So anybody that can explain the internet to a 5-year-old, I'd love to hear your answer, because I 7-year-old, easy, done. 5-year-olds they don't know. But it's one of the most, you can explain a telephone, explain the internet. to a 5-year-old. And that was a question that would be thrown out. Explain sign language, or what was it? It was like explain something, but it made you think a little bit differently, but I don't know.
Very interesting. So, maybe on to chislic?
Yeah. So we done with the education, y'all.
Yep.
We the people take our stand that we can wipe it clean. Free education, yes. But does that mean free pay for teachers? And where do we go?
Mm-hmm.
Free education. It's all going to become like militaries type thing. There's no more reason. They're going to have a draft, right, bro. They're going to be having a draft because nobody's going to be incentivized. Before 9/11, damn, that was a big deal. Give me 30. I think I got like 60 grand or something in a bonus to fucking do 4 years. And I said, I'll do 4 years. Shit. But that's when it all like, if I wouldn't have did that for the education. Today, people might think differently. You want to go be a fucking whatever. The sky's the limit. But we are going to figure this. We have to. We have to as a country. We got the election year, and we will also.
The year of energy.
This is the energy year. This is going to be. We've seen Trump with a little energy going on. We just got a little bit of taste, but
yeah,
this is definitely. And we're into May 31st, June 1st tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to all start to form itself here shortly in the next.
Yes, it will very quickly.
Days.
Real quick. It's going to happen real quick.
45 days.
We all see it. So.
Chislic is the.
Yeah, let's just throw an odd shift in there.
Yeah, get some chislic.
So y'all never heard of chislic. Now, chislic, what is that? Chislic to me, I would describe as steak that's been cut into bite-sized pieces, deep fried, and served, salted and served. That's it. That's the ticket. Now, whether it's deep fried or not, you know, you can vary a little bit there, but I've learned recently that chislic is not only originating from this area, but only one other area in the world that Kev's ever been to, and that's documented on the internet, is Belize. So the story behind that we don't really know, but I just found it very surprising. I think most of the other world, like a kebab, a skewered meat, is gonna be your equivalent. But just think of the kebab or skewer in a smaller bite-sized piece, and then all cut up and served together. So you don't have to fucking go down a stick or peel it off a stick. You can just take a toothpick and grab whichever one you want, or your fingers, or whatever you could even use chopsticks. So, and then you dip it in ranch or whatever kind of sauce you want. That's chislic.
Chislic, it is, and it's one of those. It's only in
Hutchinson County,
Hutchinson
or like
County.
Freeman is what I read.
Settlers came through
Yeah.
they were over in Europe, and they brought all this meat over, and they're like chislic.
Uh-huh.
But then when I was down in South America, and I was Honduras, that type of area, I took a charter boat up to Belize, and there was this where they docked in, and kind of like where you could go, and then we'd go back out into the deep blue sea and deep sea fish. But this guy had this little stand, and I thought, man, shish kebabs, you know, great. No, he had a thing that said chislic. And I said, chislic. He goes, chislic, man. I said, chislic. And he goes, yes, chislic. I said, he goes, and I said, man, I got to have some chislic then. And I'm like, and he goes, South Dakota, man. And I'm like, yeah, South Dakota. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, man, what the fuck? And ever since I got that, chislic.
Imagine?
Yeah. And it's down in Belize, and it's chislic.
What?
And it's not anything. It's chislic.
I would have never
And he was trying to explain about, like, the owner married somebody from the States, and they brought shit I don't know how it got down there, but think about the elevation of somebody from Brazil meets somebody that's from, and like they just like, we're gonna take chislic to, and it's not in Costa Rica, it's not in Honduras, it's not in Ecuador, it's not in those other surrounding areas of that. But I'm gonna tell you though, that was a taste of home. I was like the only thing that I could experience ever, and that was one thing I never realized until we got into this. And I'm like, man, this is fucking. It's so. I want to go back down to Belize and go get on.
Oh, that makes me want to go there too. Like what? Wow. And you guys must be all right.
And that's history of the chislic.
The history of the chislic, man. I've traveled a bit too, and around the States as well. I just never thought of it. Like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not seeing any chislic anywhere.
Chislic in this area. Yeah, you got to go 200 miles west over to Millbank.
Yeah.
You know, you're up in Minnesota. You got no chislic. No, we don't. Like, well, how's that possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird.
It's like
I just would have assumed that. How could you not do that? I mean, it seems like one of the most logical things to do. Especially if you're in like some bar food type of scenario.
Yeah.
Where it's like you just want like some finger food, you don't want a steak that you gotta cut all up. It's like chislic. You get a fucking steak while you're at the bar, dude. It's like what? What other way are you trying to go?
See, if I was passionate enough, I would be like, here, I need a couple of people to run this thing. Here's the cash.
Yeah.
Start this going. Chislic, fucking food cart.
Chislic International, let's go.
And then we'll get we'll get it promoted, and it's an interesting. It's a history of
I know a person who can profit off the idea. Like they're trying to set up a food truck situation.
We'll go global, man. We'll take Belize and go. We'll go right over to the. We'll go right over. We'll go far east from there, and really, I think that's an idea. Food truck.
But we could sell ideas, Kev. If we wanted to put together, like, we could sell ideas. That's something that I could definitely market myself doing. I've like in streamers' channels, these Twitch streamers, dude. I've dropped into chats and like dropped ideas and just comments that have like changed their channel setup. They're like, oh, that's a fucking great idea. I'm gonna incorporate that into my channel. It's like I have just ideas. Like it's just I'm not trying to egotize here. I'm just saying it's like I just look at the information and shit and like follow the stream for a while or like the business or whatever. Take the idea and just like hope something like pops in my head, and it's usually fucking kind of cool. So just I don't like I really feel like I could help people marketing strategies and shit like that.
I told that one guy that was running the show, and I said, don't pay me for 30 days. He said, you have a lot of big words, like that type of like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm reliable, dependable, accountable. I'll show up 10 minutes early, leave 20 minutes late. I'll be running the show after 6 months. So here's the deal. I'm gonna write this number down. 30 days later, if your number matches mine, you write the number after 30 days. And if we can compare numbers, then we're going to be very successful.
Yeah.
And that guy's going to be like, I'm going to get fucking fired, this fucking little prick. And I'm like, because I have no stress. I don't need to be. That's the one thing. If you ever want to, the broader spectrum outside the United States for jobs and all that, it's not, a lot of them are for people who need a job. See what I'm saying? Like, if I needed, there's going to be backing with compassion and resilience and, man, all the words, like they would be like, man, he needs to be speaking at our human resources training because we're having an issue with this. And I'm the person that'll fix it.
They're like, this guy talks too smart for anyone.
That's what they're pissed. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to be I'm like, I'm here to get, I want to find out the highest positioning job in this company. And I'm going to talk to those people and then go down. Because I'm not the person where you complain down the chain, you complain up. So if I can get up there, I'm bypassing all this. Because I'm going to be filtered into this nonsense. Right. And I'm trying cutthroat, you motherfuckers. I'm fucking...
Yeah.
I'm fucking going right to the top. And you don't like it? Bye. You just lost a really good asset with resources, with effortlessly, like, what can we do or what... Without being... one side, like how people are brainwashed in the fucking education system. Who's the smartest person? Fuck you, man. It ain't about that. It is education. It's about who you know, what you know, and like back it up. Like I said, don't pay me, and I'll fucking. And they're like, oh my god, we got to add a comment to that.
All that K through 12 education, forget about all that. This is the real world.
But people did forget that, but they stuck it with them. Meaning, like I got it pulled like fucking out of the
and retrained the brain
that, and that's how. And it took effortlessly to get out of it. It's so much easier to transition into like I said, the awareness and all the other stuff that filters and gets trained, and all the languages and all the stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's tougher to come back into a controlled fuck you people, fuck everybody, like I don't give a fuck. I'm the guy. Who are you? I'm the guy who doesn't give a fuck. I'm the guy that wants to get shit done. I want to change things. I don't care how I got to do it, but I'm going to do it somehow. And that's how it's so much tougher. And like I said, it's going on like, it's over 5 years because, and it's kind of like, man, I got so much that is compartmentalized, but when I'm trying to balance out things.
Yeah, when it gets decompressed, it's I've been in kind of a similar boat.
Now, private, public, secret was always the very first thing. They said, this is how it's public, private, secret from that fucking day. And I said, got it, done. And the rest is history. But the history's fucking here. And it's just on, it was on maintaining whatever, stability.
Not always the easiest. Even having the knowledge and training that I do and experience, it's still an active challenge to deal with the emotions. Like, it's not always the easiest thing. I do things like play like the most infuriating video game to try and really fine tune. Like, hey, let go of that anger, dude. Don't feed it. I know you just got owned and it's fucking embarrassing. And it hurts the pride, but just let go of the anger, just let it go. You lost, all right? It's not a big deal. People say it's just a game. Well, it's not just a game, It's that inner monologue. I'm well familiar
tell that to a
with
Vikings fan.
Yeah, tell that to a Vikings fan.
We're talking video games.
Yeah.
Video games are another level.
Right.
There's definitely blame there.
Yeah. Just trying to throw out some information to relate with y'all. It's been an interesting journey so far. What else do we got to talk about before we're at about an hour and 40 minutes, so
I think that's a good baseline.
Yeah.
We did last time a 45 and a whatever to break it in half. But
yeah.
I hope y'all learned something with this polygraph. That's one example where somebody would be like, man, I remember, and now they're sitting in the polygraph room getting a job, or they're either there and good cause because they're there because I'm here. Kev said the polygraph is this. It's exactly like you said. They ask the questions. I don't have nothing to hide, and if I do, it's going to be parked in my secret life. But if it's going to impact national security, that secret's coming out, and I'm fucked. Or I'm going to explain what's causing that, and then we can get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be somebody that's in an interrogation room, and the interrogator says, "Would you take a polygraph?" And they're going to remember. I remember when Kev said, "If you had anything to do with anything that was cause of this murder or disappearance or whatever, I'm not taking the polygraph." "Oh, you admit guilt then?" No, I'm just not taking the polygraph. Or if I had absolutely nothing to do with it, I'm taking the polygraph. So they're going to look at a situation of those two options.
A little bit more perspective on their
and that's the one thing about
that
secret life. Even police officers and teachers, that they go in for a job and they're like, whatever that got dinged in a questionnaire, and now they're like polygraph and pull all the secrets that could possibly involve. That's the other problem. You'd have to polygraph every single person, and that's kind of borderline. Kind of like, well, at what point do you? That's why the teaching's usually for somebody that something happened, like they were with the student or they're texting a student, and then they're sitting in the polygraph room or the interrogation room, and they're like, I didn't talk to her. I had nothing to do with it. You take a polygraph. Yeah, I'm narcissistic. They wouldn't say that, but I'll take a polygraph. I have nothing to hide. Bam, they're done.
What is that in German? The teacher, the Lehrerin, the Lehrer and the Lehrerin.
Lehrerin?
Male and female.
Lehrerin. Guten Tag, wie geht es Ihnen? We've been working on that German.
Speisegelte or Speisegelte, something like that is like actor. Those were just some ones I came across today. I was like, I don't know.
The 50 keywords is
Professor and professorin, so that one was kind of the same.
That's how I learned all those different languages. That when people are like, well, why don't you just speak all these languages? Well, man, it ain't like I spoke fluent. That's the one thing. People think, well, he spoke. No, it's not fluent. You don't want to speak perfect anything in another country. So I spoke languages. And out of the 76 countries, I know like 20 different numbers, 1 through whatever. I know so many different the vowels in German. You know, there's the 4 vowels. And then I know like those type of things. Keys. And I can go to any pretty much any continent and ask where the bus station is. You know, it's always the what you have to see in life is the more questions you ask about people that know that you're mysterious and they know that you have information security, they want to pull it out. But once you start pulling the questions out, then if you can't relate, then it's kind of like, well, I have nothing in common with this person, or advances to like, hey, they're thinking on the same level. And that's the thing about languages. Yes, we could go to any country basically within the territories, and then that's how it starts. And then 50 other keywords, and then more, you know, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
And anybody can learn any language, because in Spanish, if I told you right now, and I said 50 words in Spanish, they could be random out of 50 words. That cerveza, done. Fucking, you know, one word, beer. Uno, that's number 1. Bam, you got that. Now you go on to other words. Feliz Navidad. Oh, it's Merry Christmas. So if you start paralleling all that, and that's how languages can be very, and I did all this before we didn't have fucking translator apps on phones in whatever country. They had translators, fucking people, human intelligence, human speaking. And that's how I still love the language. I love to learn. I'll go sometimes, like, give me the 50 newest keywords in this language, and I'll be like, holy shit, if you're not up to date with the language, that's why the training was it's nonstop. Fucking, you know, until it's like, okay, I ain't going to wherever, fucking, but I could go back and be like, man, but then if I fucking speak too much, and then they're like, man, who's your boss? And I'm like, man, I'm just here on vacation. Bullshit. You're on vacation. We saw you here X amount of years ago. I'm like, man, I'm fucking gotta get out of here. I gotta go back in the Matrix. I'll be like, keep me here. It's safer. I ain't going back to America. Fuck it. I'll fucking, whatever we need to do, let's get it done. I got a team ready to roll. Gotta be careful out there, y'all. There's a lot of things going on in the world.
Yeah.
Gotta watch out for that pig butchery. It's a very scary thing. So.
Damn right. All right, until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Hope you got something out of that. And any questions for Kev, hit me up.
Domo arigatou gozaimasu, do itashite mashite.
All right, take care. Peace.